I call the meeting to order for the May 24th, 2001 meeting of the council. Vice Mayor, will you lead the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We're still running kind of a two-part council meeting here, so I'm going to give you some instructions here, and then Mr. Ham's going to follow up. But if you would like to speak to your citizen comment period, there's a table in back of the vestibule back there. If you would sign up on that or in the lobby, if you want to sign up in the lobby to speak, we'll be continuing to provide remote access for our remote viewers. If you wish to speak during the remote access part of the public hearing, or we don't have a public hearing tonight, it's just a comment period. If you'll listen, Mr. Ham is going to give you instruction on how to phone in and become part of this meeting.
Yes, sir. Excuse me. The call-in number is 844-844-9200. That's 844-844-9200. At that point, the caller will be prompted to enter the access code for the meeting, which is 398145#, 398145#, at which point you should hear the Q&A session has started. At that point, please press *6, and then if you'd like to speak, press 1, and you'll be added to the queue. The facilitator at some point will then alert you to when it's your turn to speak. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to item number 2, and that is the adoption of the meeting agenda. As City Council is not prepared to make an appointment to the EDA, is there a motion to postpone consideration of that vacancy indefinitely and amend the agenda accordingly?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 9 has been removed from the agenda. Item number 3 is to approve the minutes from the May 10th regular business meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Hostetter. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 3 carries 5-0. Thank you very much. And item 4 comes to matters from the mayor. I've got a couple of things tonight. One, we'd like to thank city staff, the EDA, and those that participated in the event we had last week for the Natural History Museum, Virginia Natural History Museum. We've got funding for the design process of the museum. Mr. Short was there with me on Wednesday, and they did a kickoff on that. It was a very good event, so I want to thank all the staff at EDA for your hard work in getting that done. I would also like to talk a little bit about our school. Schools have ended for the year and the teachers are home now, but last Tuesday they had a Teacher of the Year presentation for the public schools for the teachers, and these teachers are all picked from within their different schools to be Teachers of the Year within the school. And I'd like to recognize Megan Lee from Berkeley Glen, Julia Campbell from Winona, Julie Clark from West Hills, Megan Carroll from William Perry, Mary Adams from Kate Collins, Christine Littmeyer from Waynesboro High School, and Beth Teachy from the Valley Academy. Those were all the nominees for Teachers of the Year for their respective schools. And then the overall Teacher of the Year was awarded to Beth Teachy from Valley Academy. She's a 6th through 12th grade teacher of English at the Valley Academy. And to receive an honor from your peers is a great success story on doing things right. On her list here, she has favorite quotes, and she has 2 of them here, and I want to name them both because I love them. The first one is, if it doesn't challenge you, you won't change. And I can't think of better words when you're dealing with high school and elementary school, any student. That's a Fred DeVito quote. And then the second one comes from Eleanor Roosevelt, and it's, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And I mean, that's just 2 great quotes that are Teacher of the Year favorites. So, Ms. Teachy, thank you very much for all you do for the city of Waynesboro, our students, and keep up the good work. And item number 5 is matters from council member. Do any of my colleagues have comments they want to make? We've got to let Dr. Sam go first. He's got to.
It's short.
Okay, all right.
Well, I was just going to echo that, Mr. Mayor. Appreciation to the staff and our friends with Junior Museum of Natural History, as well as Delegate Foley and Senator Hanger for their participation in the meeting and all of their hard work and diligence to bring this remarkable facility to our city. I also just wanted to take a moment to also sort of recognize the Teacher of the Year ceremony. It was in a year like none other. There was an awards ceremony like no other, but it was really great to see. It was cool to see all the folks using the chat features and enjoyed that, and certainly want to extend my appreciation and thanks to all of the recipients. Also want to sort of acknowledge our school system be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that my daughter graduated as Hamps from Waynesboro High School the other week, and just my appreciation to this school system, this remarkable school system that we have the fortune of calling our own, and the city of Waynesboro, and all the faculty, administrators, and teachers for all the amazing hard work and dedication. I'm just so grateful for them. And the same goes for we've got a rising high school student coming from Kate Collins, and just what a cool way to send them off with a little ride through over Kate Collins the other day. It was so cool, and Josh was incredibly embarrassed, but it was a really neat experience to try to show appreciation and thanks and fond wishes for those students entering the high school. So appreciate that, as well as the send offs all our elementary schools do for their teachers, both the retirement and the kids as they got off. So just want to extend that appreciation.
Thank you, Mr. Short.
Well, and that was on my agenda as well, to say thank you to the schools for the graduation efforts that they put in, both the graduation in mass and then also the more personalized graduation on Saturday, the parade through downtown, students standing on the side and friends and family driving by them, and that was all well received. I have a son who graduated as well, which Mr. Short just forgot, but congratulations to the other parents on the stage here that have graduating senior, and many kudos to the schools for putting it all together. The other thing I should have said something about last time and forgot was to thank the Parks and Rec folks. Again, in a difficult year, they put together the annual Park to Park Half Marathon. That took place on April the 24th, and Mr. McCormick and I participated and enjoyed the run. And I understand that Mr. Short's going to join us next year. Okay, good. But they have done a remarkable job sort of trying to gear back up, keep people safe, but also have those kind of activities. They are in the process of planning their summer runs, so there is a chance to get back on those things before next year. The last thing is my COVID update. Again, the numbers continue to be good, and as many of you have heard and are acting on, our requirements are changing. And so mask mandates are disappearing, but it's all sort of a little unknown. So, one thing I tell people is our numbers are looking good, vaccine efforts continue, and people are still looking for the vaccine. Children from 12 on up can get it now, and they still have lots of it out at Augusta Health, so it's easy to get your hands on and get your vaccine. Many of the pharmacies have it as well. As we sort this out, and businesses are trying to sort out, how to keep people safe, both workers and customers, folks at plants, folks in healthcare facilities, be patient with each other. As soon as people started to take off masks outdoors, I think we all felt liberated. It was a wonderful thing to be able to do that this weekend. But remember, there are still folks that are getting sick, and we will still see deaths in Virginia from COVID. And so using common sense and continue to work to get each other vaccinated and protected is the best way to go forward. So just an update there, and hopefully the nose will continue to be good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Costello. Anyone else?
Just want to amend my remarks to show my appreciation for Andy for graduating as well. So, I don't know, you did the indoor service, we did the outdoor service, so I've been blank. And then I also wanted to mention the Groovy on the Greenway. What a fantastic event that was the other day. And it was so cool. I can't remember what day of the week are we doing. What day of the week? We're doing Thursday. So every Thursday, new artists. Wow, there were a lot of people out there last week. It was really, really cool event. So thanks to the Parks and Rec and staff for putting on a successful event.
Thank you, Carol. All right, item number 6 is to consider adopting an ordinance imposing tax for calendar year 2021 on property and persons at 90 cents per hundred of assessed value for the payment of interest on city debt, for the support of city government, for the maintenance of public schools, and for other expenditures necessary for providing the assessment of persons and property, and for the collection of taxes, revenue, assessment, imposing penalties for failure to comply with the provisions thereof. The ordinance was introduced at our last meeting. It was seconded, and at this time, we're going to go for a vote. But before that, is there any discussion on this tax rate? Go ahead, Mr. Allen.
I just have one question. Do we have any direct information in regards to the $4.8 million as to how we will be able to spend it?
We do, sir. That we've got initial information from the Treasury Department, and they basically outline specific areas that it can be spent. One would be in response to the COVID pandemic. There was a lot of types of things that you saw in the CARES Act. And those can be either in response to public health or the economic impact of the virus. And so what you would have to demonstrate is that there was, whatever the damage or harm done by COVID, either as a public health matter or as a...
We can't hear you up here, Jim. I think the speakers are all turned down, so.
As I say, that we could use the funds in response to coronavirus, either the public health response or to respond to the economic harm of COVID, and you would have to demonstrate what the harm was and how the expenditure was addressing that issue. You're able to provide hazard pay to essential workers, and the guidance from the Treasury outlines what those essential workers are. You're able to use the virus or the ARP funds to respond to losses in revenue, and there's a very specific guidance in terms of how you calculate those losses. And our initial read is that our situation in Waynesboro is not as severe as others, but in doing that, you have to apply those lost revenues, that calculated revenue, to specific expenditures. There's very specific guidance about not allowing those funds to fall to your fund balance. There's even editorial commentary that the money has to be spent. And then the final thing is that you can use the money for water, sewer, stormwater, and broadband infrastructure. From at least our read of the Treasury's guidance, and we would expect that over time it will be clarified, much as the CARE Act's guidance was clarified, that we don't see that there's a method by which you could essentially backfill lost tax revenue if you were to reduce your tax rate, to simply backfill those funds.
Any further, Mr. Rowland?
I have a follow-up question, Jim. Do we anticipate when we will get more information and guidance on our particular plan?
I think that there are allocation amounts that have been posted, but none of the money has been transferred to us. And it looks like certainly, depending on how you read the guidance, we look to gain at least about $4.5 billion, but it could be as much as twice that. That Virginia is peculiar, and they have independent cities. The cities are independent of their surrounding county, and so you see us show up as both a municipality, and you see us show up as a county. So if that is true, then we stand to gain as much as $9 million.
Anyone else have more discussion? I'm going to ask for a roll call vote tonight because it's hard to hear on stage with the air conditioner running. So we're going to do a vote, and I'd like to do this by roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Williams,
I oppose.
Mayor Henderson,
I vote for.
Mr. Short. Aye. Dr. Hostetter,
Aye.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
All right, it's a 3-2 vote, the motion carries. That brings us to item number 7. Item number 7 is to consider adopting an ordinance approving the recommended annual operating budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022. The ordinance was introduced and seconded and discussed at our previous meeting. Any discussion on this? All right, we'll take a vote on this matter. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Aye. Okay, the motion carries 4-1. Mr. Allen opposed. All right, item number 8. Item number 8 is to consider introducing and adopting an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2021 general fund budget in the amount of $184,600 for grants and funds received from Virginia Information Technology Agency to upgrade our E911 system. Mr. Ham.
Mayor Henderson and members of council, you may recall a presentation by Gary Kreitzer. This is a project updating, as the title indicates, our 911 equipment and software to provide for text 911 functionality. This work and this improvement required by the state is also funded by the state. It's just a reimbursement grant. So the work has been completed. The initial expenditure on the part of the city has been incurred, and this is simply appropriating the reimbursement from the state in the form of a grant.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions for Mr. Hare? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the orders as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye and show of hands. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I didn't realize how loud that air conditioner was. This brings us to communications, correspondence, and calendar, Mr. Ham.
I don't have anything this evening, sir.
Thank you, sir. And then the last, we have the citizen comment period. If you're going to speak during citizen comment, we ask that you keep your comments to about 4 minutes. There's going to be a little stoplight here at the end of the stage. It'll be green when you're clear to talk. It'll turn yellow when you've got 30 seconds left. And then when it turns red, we ask that you kind of wind it down. Okay.
Mr. Craig Scott.
Good evening, honorable members of our wonderful city, and I love those Red Sox, by the way. Good news, it was reported in the media about the CARES Act that $9 million or more dollars has been, or is going to be sent to the city. I have a concern, the tax increase went through, and compassion is multiple levels. It's also for people pulling the proverbial wagon, not only people riding in it. And I know that our town can do better in managing the city. I brought forth the privatization of the water and sewer, and relieving us of capital expenditures and management in the future, whether it's drainage in the dam, but there are other ideas of improving efficiency, which efficiency is ultimately compassion. If we can get the job done better, less expensive, less of a burden, more free time for other city planning, where our city planners can example in the future, if the water and sewer item does go through, the city planner goes directly to the manager who's running that, and they are working for us, city council and all members. This principle of optimization of services everywhere, whether it's repairing the building, whatever, leasing buildings instead of owning them, et cetera, can be done and save the taxpayers money and improve services and costs for our city. That means our policemen can get even further raises, et cetera. Teachers can get better equipment, et cetera. Better services for foods, a sundry of things, almost anything you imagine under the sun, because, for example, we have a choice of sneakers. We get the best price. We don't go to the city of Waynesboro to get our sneakers done, or our electricity, or whatever. And with that principle in mind, an understanding, a higher level of understanding of consciousness of work, we can improve and make this one of the finest cities in America. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Chanda McGuffin.
Could you come?
Ms. Chanda McGuffin.
Good evening. I am Chanda McGuffin, 644 Edgewater Lane, and I'm not here to fuss tonight. That's a first for me. I just wanted to come up on behalf of Sharon Fitz and myself to say thank you. And I'm going to break it down of why we're saying thank you. First, I want to thank the Waynesboro Police Department. and Chief Wilhelm. And the cooperation that we get immediately when we need something or have a question, and they represent so well. With everything that's going on in the world and in this country, with police departments and even local police departments, we never hear about the Waynesboro Police Department. And if we do, Chief Wilhelm talks with us and we have a very quick resolution. So I want to say that. The second thing I want to thank the city council. You all have, we have a tough job, and you know that I will call you at the moment's notice, but I want to say to you, thank you, because we're doing some big things in the city. And I always get a message or contact from city council members, either Lena or Bobby, with something that we're doing or recognizing. One of the big things was our after-school program. We opened up the after-school program with the help of the city, and making sure that we had the sanitation and everything that was necessary to open up, because the school wasn't open when we opened. We opened in September for after-school program. So I wanted to tell you thank you for that, and you all that supported that, because the kids, we had children that jumped reading levels. We had kids that went from C's and D's to honor roll students in this span of time that have a very strong outlook. And it's going to lead us into our summer school with our 25 kids that we will be working with the month of June. June 2nd, thank you, Mayor Henderson, for coming out for Career Day and talking with the kids. The kids are excited, they love to meet the mayor. And so I wanted to make sure that we just recognized the collaboration, because no matter what decisions we make, for whatever category or whatever interest, it always leads back to the kids. So even if we can disagree on things, if we keep focused that we're trying to leave the kids a better community than we have, we can always find our road back to that. And I just wanted to thank you all for being so supportive, and we hope that you continue to support RISE and doing what we're doing for our kids in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGuffin. All right, there's no other citizen comments, so that brings us to item number 11. Oh, anybody on? Thank you very much, Dr. Hoster. Do we have anybody online? No? Okay. All right, with nobody online and comment period done, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Thank you, Dr. Hostetter. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye and give me a show of hands. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.